Hello, I'm Carrie J., an online educational designer with the Division of Education, Arts, and Social Sciences. In this video, we'll be taking a big picture look at universal design and accessibility and how they impact on a wide range of students. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that our institution is situated on Ghana land, and the spiritual, familial, emotional, and economic ties the Ghana people have always had with this land. What do you think of when you think about accessibility? Most people think of it as making content available to people with permanent sight or hearing impairments. And of course, this is an important aspect of accessibility and universal design. But physical impairments, even temporary ones, are also a consideration. Imagine breaking your mousing hand or arm. But there are other things to consider with accessibility and universal design too. And today I'd like to give you an overview of accessibility standards in Australia and hopefully a different angle on accessibility itself. While watching TV, how many of you have seen this or a similar symbol and announcement saying that a program has been closed captioned? Sometimes programs are live captioned with some amusing results, other times the captions are added later, as with movies. Closed captions differ from the open captions you see that describe who a speaker is, for instance, in that people can opt in to see closed captions. YouTube has provided closed captioning for a few years now. You can upload a file that will tell it to do so, or it will automatically attempt to do so and create some word salad. To view closed captions on YouTube, click on the symbol next to the clock, and you'll see the closed captions appear on the screen. To view the interactive transcript that can result from closed captioning, click on the little document with the bar next to it down under the statistics for the video. So here's a question for you. Who besides the hearing impaired uses closed captions? Feel free to pause this video to make some notes. Ready to continue? Let's go. In addition to hearing impaired people, you'll see travelers at airports viewing closed caption programs, as well as patrons of sports bars and cafes, fitness buffs at health clubs and gyms, and new parents who want to catch their favorite shows but need to keep an ear out for a sleeping baby. And what about ESL students? This last category of closed caption users are helped along by being able to pause and reflect on the text to catch meaning. It's also why anyone with an accent in a movie or television interview is captioned for English speakers. So just by looking at one action that can make content accessible, closed captioning, we see that we can provide benefits to multiple stakeholders and provide multiple pathways into the same content as for the ESL student. Okay, brainstorm time. Closed captions aside, how could we make video more accessible for ESL students, time-poor students, students with slower connections, and students using smaller screens, like smartphones? Again, feel free to pause the video to reflect on this. For ESL students, ensuring you speak at a steady, not too fast pace using clear, unambiguous language and providing slight breaks that could allow them to pause, rewind, and play through again could all be helpful. As well, you could consider providing a downloadable document with definitions for more advanced or specialized words, phrases, and concepts. For time-poor students, consider providing a downloadable MP3 audio file of your video. This will require you to speak more visually during your presentation and to explain any charts or diagrams. For longer videos, you may consider chunking them into smaller ones so that people can fit viewing into a short break time and come back in at a logical starting point. For people with connectivity issues, shorter videos and audio-only files with the option to download any important visuals will save them time and bandwidth. As well, consider that web video is only going to be as high definition as the device it's played on, and most people don't play their course videos on a large screen TV. High definition video is overkill for a talking head type video. And for small screen users, think about the visual detail you're providing. Charts and diagrams with small font are impossible to decipher on a small screen, so if you explain them, people can still derive meaning. Avoid wide shots and stick with medium and close-up shots whenever possible, and this will make life easier for small screen users as well. You'll notice that for these four groups of people, there was a lot of overlap. Speaking more slowly and visually, offering an audio alternative, chunking up longer videos will benefit all of these learners, plus benefit sight-impaired people and those with cognitive disabilities, in the instances where you provide text in addition to the video itself. What else do we gain when we think about accessibility and universal design when it comes to video productions? Better communication skills that can lead to better student outcomes, all by changing just two habits when planning and presenting and offering one or two variations on the end products. Now let's take a look at Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. Developed by an international consortium of educators, communicators, and technologists called the W3C, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines aim to provide a single shared standard for web content accessibility for individuals, organizations, and governments. Their focus is on both the human experience and that of assistive technologies, as well as making content accessible across multiple platforms. There are four main content principles. Content should be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Let's look at each of these in turn. Making content perceivable means that the information and user interface components, like navigation buttons and menus, must be able to be seen and/or heard and/or used by users who may have one or more senses impaired. The basics of this standard mean creating text alternatives for non-text content, alternatives for time-based media, such as closed captioning for videos and transcripts for audio files, flexible content layout so that content can display well across multiple devices and isn't locked into just one type of display, and making content easy to see and hear by taking things like contrast between colors into consideration for visuals and ensuring that audio is clear and as reasonable quality. Operable content means that users must be able to interact with the content and navigate. In practice, this means all functions are available from a keyboard, that you allow sufficient time to use content. Those lovely sliding banners we see nowadays can sometimes flick by a little too quickly. And don't create content that could cause seizures. Now, this might seem a bizarre and out there sort of scenario, but there are still websites out there using bright flashing GIFs and animations that can really run the risk of triggering seizures in people. Support navigation, searching, and knowing where you are in the context of a website. So don't make a website too arcane to understand. Now, Moodle does a very good job of using horizontal navigation as well as standard navigation that allows people to see where they are. Understandable content means that users understand the information as well as how to interact with the site. Meeting this is easy. Make text readable and understandable. This includes the color and size of your font as well as writing. Moodle has built-in styles that shouldn't be deviated from for aesthetic reasons. And when it comes to creating presentations like this PowerPoint, you want to ensure your text is nice and big and clean. Make sure that web pages operate predictably. Moodle takes care of some of this for us. For the rest, ensure that links to content within a Moodle course don't open in new windows, and that links to external websites do. Ensure that if you force the download of documents, that you make this consistent throughout your course. And let people know what different links look like. For instance, links to web pages and links to documents should look different. You should make people understand that a link is going to open or download a document. The third principle under understandable is helping users avoid and correct mistakes. Now this pertains particularly to interactive forms. As a Moodle user, you don't have to worry about this. Moodle takes care of this largely for you. Robustness means that content works as well as possible across the wide variety and combinations of browsers, operating systems, and devices, as well as working with assistive technology. In practice, Moodle does some of this work for you. You can help this by using the built-in headings and styles in the Moodle editor rather than coming up with unique color schemes, not using fixed width tables to lay out content, and following the other principles of accessibility we've just covered. So those are the 4 principles that underlie web content accessibility guidelines: that content is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. The current WCAG standard is 2.0, the second major iteration. It can be applied at 3 levels. Level A is the base level required for people to be able to interact with and understand content. The AA standard is the standard that the Australian federal and state governments have set for their websites. AAA standard is the standard set for website content aimed specifically at people with disabilities. The Australian Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission has a lot to say about web accessibility in relation to the Disability Discrimination Act. They advise content publishers, whether publishing a blog site about hats or a large site for education or commerce, that a complaint of disability discrimination is much less likely to succeed if reasonable steps have been taken to address accessibility during the design stage. And that's what we've been talking about. Today, an architect would not dream of designing a public space without considering wheelchair access. And for those of us who drag heavy briefcases on wheels or push a pram, we benefit from those ramps as much as the different student groups we saw earlier benefit from our thinking about accessibility and content for students. So what can content publishers do? Some PDF scans of books are nothing more than photos of the pages, impossible for screen reading software to penetrate. So when you're publishing documents and you're scanning books in for PDFs, try to ensure that those documents are optical character recognition compatible, which means that the text content converts to text, which is readable by screen reading software. Otherwise, you're giving people pages of images. Ensure that the documents you make available online are in common formats, and stick to document formats students are likely to own. Not everyone has PowerPoint. Ensure any PowerPoints you upload are uploaded as PDFs with notes, because of course PowerPoint slides, when you output a PowerPoint as a PDF, turn out as images. When you make documents available for download, let people know the file size and what type document you're putting up there. Prepare them for what's to come. They may not want to download that big, juicy PowerPoint PDF via their prepaid mobile data plan. Plus, they'll know what type of link they're clicking on. Finally, be consistent as to how documents behave in your course. If you force a download on one document and another opens in a new tab or window, people are going to get confused. When it comes to images, do not replace important text that imparts meaning, like section headings, with an image. If you publish a chart or diagram or talk to one in a video, explain what the X and Y axes are, or the different data sets of a Venn diagram, and then what trends you want learners to notice. And when it comes to providing an alternative text description for images, only do so on images that convey information. For decorative images, such as the illustration of the camera and the photos on this slide, just click the spacebar on your keyboard once in the image description field. For videos, closed captioning is what WCAG 2.0 AA standards call for to ensure accessibility. And as we saw earlier, this can benefit a wide range of users. If you can't make closed captions happen, remember our earlier brainstorm. Limit your video to medium and close-up shots where you can for small screen users. Optimize the size of the video for web use. High-definition videos really aren't necessary for the average presentation video. It's easy to output video as an MP3 audio file, and making it available as such can be handy for time-poor learners as well as those with bandwidth issues. Speak visually, explaining charts and diagrams where they occur. And speak clearly and concisely and at a pace where people can keep up. Audio publishers, where possible, provide a transcript. Again, speak visually and use clear, concise, and well-paced speech. And if you're providing a recording of a panel discussion or interview, advise speakers to identify themselves before they continue their conversation, just as you would do on a large teleconference call. Ensuring text is readable includes getting into the habit of nesting headings. And what that means is that in the style options of your documents and online in Moodle, heading 1 should be used for a main topic, heading 2 should be used to style text of a subtopic of heading 1, and so on, regardless of whether you like the look or not. Headings indicate information architecture for both humans and assistive technologies. When emphasizing or highlighting information, if you must, if you use bolding or color, also use size for emphasis. Colorblind people or people using technologies that reverse out colors for better contrast aren't going to get it if you just use color, such as a stoplight system, to explain or to organize content. And on the topic of coloring text manually, if you must, make sure there is sufficient contrast ratio between the text and the background or highlight color. Pale pink or pale yellow against light colors or black against dark colors is not going to be readable for colorblind people. Finally, ensure your writing is appropriate to the medium. Formal writing favored in research papers is tedious to read on web pages. Writing for the web doesn't have to be sloppy, but it should be conversational and the sentences short and concise. For longer, more formal pieces, consider publishing a document to be downloaded. When it comes to hyperlinks in Moodle courses, you should always link to in-course content in such a way that it does not open a new window. Doing so opens another session in Moodle, and that can cause technical issues. Be consistent about how your links work. If you are linking to documents, indicate the file type and size, and if you force a download on one document, do it for all of them. If you open one external link in a new window or tab, ensure all your external links do so. Link text, not long web addresses or URL strings. Long website addresses are bad enough to listen to once on assistive software. Listening to them twice is annoying and seems like punishment. Finally, use title tags for links that open in new windows. You'll see this option when hyperlinking text in Moodle. You just type in to the title field, this link opens a new window. Unfortunately, this option isn't available yet in Word. Hopefully it will be soon. So to sum up, I hope you see that thinking about accessibility and universal design not only makes content easier for a wider group of learners, it can also provide multiple pathways into the same content. When thinking about speaking more visually, you will by default improve your communications, not only for sight-impaired learners or those using mobile devices, but for ESL students and those with cognitive impairments as well. Finally, by adopting a few small habits and integrating accessibility into the content you create, you can make a big impact on student outcomes.